All right, in this video we're going to talk about traditional grip. Traditional grip is hard to teach. It's something that feels a certain way, and it's just hard to teach somebody. You can try to get them to look like you, but getting them to feel it and play like you, if you feel good playing traditional grip, is a different story. Now, my background is more of a marching snare drum background, so that's the way I'm going to be approaching this. So here's my suggestion is take the stick out of your hand. Take your left hand and put it out here like you're going to go shake somebody's hand. Now, your grip is actually going to be right here. Your thumb is going to go over the stick. That is your actual grip. That is how you're holding the drumstick. So you take your drumstick and you put it right there. That's how you hold the drumstick. If your grip is strong here and you've developed this muscle, you should be able to play anything you want just like that. But I will admit, if you've not played traditional grip before, that's going to be hard for you. But that's where your grip actually is. Now, here's the next couple of things I want to talk about before we do anything with the fingers. The most efficient way to play is straight up and down. So if my wrist is straight, like this, what it does to the stick is it points it in a little bit. And when I turn my wrist, it actually has a tendency to want to wave, like go in a circle. So to avoid that, what you can do is you take your wrist and you tilt it back a little bit. So now that you're back a little bit, when you play, you're going to be a little bit more straight up and down. But to be honest with you, this is something that you're not going to get very fast. It's something that you're going to have to sort of develop as part of your technique. Okay, now the other thing I want to mention about holding the stick this way, you want to be careful your palm doesn't turn over like this. You don't want your palm up. You want to make sure it's straight like that. Your thumb should be straight up. The bottom side of your palm here, or the side of your hand, should be straight down. And the stick, if you're holding it right, shouldn't be drooping over. It should be up. So I'm actually gripping it. So now that you've established that, your wrist is back a little bit. We got the thumb up. We got the side of the hand down, or this side of the palm down. The other thing to mention is that you don't do droopy wrist. I call this droopy wrist. If you look at my wrist here, it's straight right here. If I droop it over like that, that's droopy wrist. A lot of people like to get lazy with their grip and droop it over and put their palm like this and play like this, and it looks like crap. You don't want to do that. So back to this. Pull your wrist back, make sure it's straight. Play straight up and down when you play. This is where your grip is. So if we've established that, now let's talk about what the fingers are for. Now you can use your fingers to help you play, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. Here's what I'm going to get into, is you want to keep this stick from flopping around. That's exactly why we use our fingers over here. Now, sometimes you do pump your fingers to play different notes, or your fingers for different things, but the most part, those fingers are there to kind of cradle the stick so it's not flopping around like this. So if you've ever taken drum lessons or seen drummers who stick their pinkies out, it's a big no-no, because as soon as you stick your pinky out, you're creating more risk to dropping a stick. So by playing like this, I'm creating risk of dropping the stick. Now, I have a pretty strong grip here, so I'm not going to drop the stick. I'm pretty good at this. So now we're going to talk about these fingers. So what we're going to do with these two fingers is we're going to take our ring finger and curl it under like this. So from a top view, that's what you have. You're creating kind of like a C with your ring finger. And so now you can let your finger or let your stick rest on that finger on the nail. But remember, this is still our grip here. You don't want to get lazy with your grip and now do this. So if you look at my hand, that's a very lazy grip. You still want to hold it with this thumb muscle, but you're just kind of resting it here. And then this pinky isn't really going to serve you a lot of good. But the thing is if you let your pinky go underneath the ring finger like that, it has a tendency to want to collapse the palm. And that's going to create some issues with your technique and your grip and the way that you're able to play. So the way that I was taught, and it seemed to work well for me, is to take this finger and just have it just marry up next to that ring finger. You're not really using that pinky for anything, but you're leaving it like that. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's talk about these two fingers. Remember, like I said, this thumb muscle here, this is your primary grip, so you don't want to change that. But what we're going to do is we want these two fingers to be as tight as possible to this point, because this is our fulcrum point or our pivot point. So you take this first finger and you wrap it around, take the second finger and you wrap it around, and then you put your thumb on top. Now, if you look at my grip right here, what I want to point out is I'm in as much of a ball as I can get in. That's what you want. You want to be in a ball, like a really tight ball. Now, some people will tell you, oh, just put your fingers out like that, and that's how you play. And that's how I started playing, too. And that's, people used to say, stick your middle finger out and then your other finger's in place like that. Well, the thing is now you're elongating that ball that I used to have. And so now I don't really have a centralized pivot point or focal point of how the stick's going to move in my hand. And I'm also not really gripping it here anymore. I'm gripping it over this whole long thing. So when I play, there's not a lot of natural movement of the stick going on. So we want to create that ball. So if I can get over, can you maybe 6 seconds? If I can get over here. So this is without fingers. I'm letting the stick do the work. I'm just kind of letting it rebound. With my fingers on there, I'm actually still letting it rebound and everything, but I'm not holding it tight with these 2 fingers or these 2 fingers. They're just kind of there to make sure the stick isn't flopping around. But to stop the stick, you can like death grip it, or you can kind of just hold it firm enough that it doesn't rebound back up, which is what that is. Okay, so those are some thoughts on the traditional grip. To practice this, I actually don't advocate practicing traditional grip while you're playing stuff. I found for me, learning various grips for mallet techniques or traditional grip or alternate forms of holding sticks, for instance, that to learn the grip, aiding the muscle memory of it, I actually found it just to be useful just to walk around holding the grip, or if I'm sitting in a car just holding the grip, or if I'm watching TV holding the grip. But I'm not actually playing with anything at this point. I'm just getting used to the muscle memory of what it's like to hold it correctly. And that's what I'm advocating here. You want to make sure you're muscle memorizing the grip that you want to use. Now, everything I just said in some circles is up for debate. And I'm not saying that mine is the best and mine's right and everybody else is wrong. I'm just kind of saying this is what's worked for me and what I found has worked well for my students. So that's what I advocate. If I find a better way to do things, then I will incorporate that into my philosophy and how I teach it. But everything I just mentioned is what I recommend. So you want to watch out for droopy wrist. Don't do that. You want to make sure your palm doesn't curve under like that. You want to make sure you're holding your grip here. You want to pull your wrist back a little bit so you're playing straight up and down when you curve your arm. These fingers are not actually gripping the stick, but they're very tight into a ball, making sure the stick doesn't flop around in your hand so you have control and you're not dropping it. But you want to utilize as much of the stick's natural rebound as possible with this as a fulcrum point. So once you have the memorization of the muscle memory of the grip here, then I recommend playing real basic exercises like your 8 on a hand, or what I call quarter accents, accent tap stuff, and double beat, and then your roll stuff. So then you start practicing all that way. All right, that's all I have for you on that.